They strutted through life, cloaked in their own illusions of grandeur, blind to the storm brewing on the horizon. They believed their cunning would shield them, their charm would disarm any threat. But the moment they handed over the cash, their empire of deceit began to crumble. They had walked straight into a trap, their hubris the architect of their undoing. Your resilience was a mirror they couldn't face, reflecting everything they lacked. They watched, consumed by envy, as you rebuilt yourself piece by piece. Every step you took forward was a dagger to their pride, a reminder that their absence was your liberation. You were the one thing they couldn't own, and it drove them mad. They told themselves it was curiosity, but the truth was far more sinister. Your success gnawed at them, each achievement a wound to their fragile ego. They became a prisoner of their own obsession, unable to look away, yet powerless to intervene. The life you lived without them became the ghost that haunted their every waking moment. It wasn't love they mourned, but the loss of control. They had built a facade so carefully, a mask of dominance and power. But when you walked away, their illusion shattered. The world they had constructed, where they were the center of everything, began to collapse. You had become untouchable, and they were left grasping at shadows. Desperation led them to dark corners where morality was traded for control. If they couldn't reclaim you, they would invade your world. Their schemes grew more elaborate, their methods more invasive. But in their arrogance, they failed to see the cracks forming in their plan, each move a step closer to their own ruin. They mistook recklessness for invincibility, convinced they were untouchable. Each attempt to infiltrate your life left a trail, a digital breadcrumb leading straight to their downfall. They thought they were building a trap for you, but it was their own cage they were constructing. The walls were closing in, and they didn't even realize it. The predator had become the prey. Every move they made was watched, every secret uncovered. They had underestimated the forces working against them, blinded by their own arrogance. Their attempts to regain control only tightened the noose. The game they thought they were winning had never been theirs to play. They operated in the shadows, or so they thought. But every action left a mark, every scheme a traceable thread. They believed they were invisible, but their desperation made them careless. The spotlight they feared was already on them, and the world was watching as they unraveled. In their desperation, they sought help from the faceless underworld. They thought they were dealing with an ally, someone who could help them reclaim their power. But their overconfidence blinded them to the truth. The hacker they trusted was their undoing, an agent of justice waiting for the perfect moment to strike. With no hesitation, they laid out their demands, exposing their darkest intentions. They believed they were in control, orchestrating every detail. But each word, each transaction, was another nail in their coffin. They didn't realize it yet, but they had already lost the game they were so desperate to win. They fancied themselves a mastermind, a puppeteer pulling the strings. But the moment they acted, they sealed their fate. The evidence was undeniable, the trap inescapable. They had been outplayed, and the illusion of control they clung to was shattered in an instant. The agents played their part perfectly, feeding the narcissist's delusions just enough to keep them engaged. Each response was a calculated move, designed to draw them deeper into the web. They never suspected they were being played, too consumed by their own arrogance to see the truth. They moved in silence, convinced of their secrecy, but the silence was deafening, a prelude to their downfall. Every step they took was monitored, every action documented. They thought they were invisible, but the evidence was piling up, and the cage was closing around them. Blinded by their obsession, they failed to notice the signs, the delays, the hesitations, the subtle cues. They missed it all. Their need for control consumed them, leaving no room for doubt. They pressed forward, oblivious to the fact that they were walking straight into a trap. Each action was a confession, each payment a testament to their guilt. They believed they were orchestrating a master plan, but they were only digging their own grave. The feds didn't need to chase them. They were willingly delivering themselves into the hands of justice. The truth didn't hit them like a lightning strike. It crept in, slow and suffocating. It started as a whisper, a shadow of doubt. But when the realization came, it was devastating. They were caught, exposed, and powerless to escape the consequences of their actions. Stripped of their power, they stood exposed, their empire reduced to rubble. The evidence was irrefutable, their guilt undeniable. They tried to deny, to deflect, but the weight of their actions crushed them. The game was over, and they had lost. Some tried to run, others tried to fight, but it was all in vain. The system they thought they could outsmart had outsmarted them. Every move they made was anticipated, every escape route blocked. They had nowhere left to turn, no one left to save them. Their fall from grace was spectacular, a public unraveling of their carefully constructed image. Once feared, now mocked, they became a cautionary tale. Their arrogance had been their downfall, and the world watched as they were dragged into the light. They thought they were the players, but they were only pieces on the board. The game had never been theirs to control. Their attempts to dominate you only led to their own destruction. The universe had a way of balancing the scales, and justice was finally served. They underestimated you, thinking they could break you. But you were the catalyst for their downfall, the force they couldn't reckon with. Their obsession with destroying you became their undoing, and they never saw it coming. It wasn't just human justice that caught up with them. It was something greater. The lies they told, the schemes they plotted, all came back to haunt them. The universe had a way of magnifying their sins, ensuring they paid for every wrong. They had gotten away with so much for so long, but they had chosen the wrong target this time. You were untouchable, and their attempts to break you only led to their own destruction. They tried to rewrite reality, but the truth was unyielding. Now they live in fear, haunted by the consequences of their actions. Every sound, every shadow, every knock at the door is a reminder of their guilt. Karma is patient, and it's not done with them yet. Their power was never real. It was a facade built on lies and manipulation. Now, that facade is shattered, their name synonymous with disgrace. The world sees them for what they truly are, and there's no going back. The internet erupted with the truth, exposing their lies in real time. They had no control, no way to stop the tide. The world they once dominated now laughed at their downfall, and they were powerless to change it. Their reputation, once a weapon, was now a curse. Doors that once opened for them were slammed shut. They had spent years crafting their image, but it was all for nothing. The truth had destroyed everything they had built. Even as their world crumbled, they clung to their obsession. But every move they made only pushed them further from their goal. You were beyond their reach, untouchable, and their attempts to regain control only led to more failure. The puppet master had become the puppet, their strings pulled by forces they couldn't see. Their paranoia consumed them, turning every shadow into a threat. The deeper they dug, the worse it got, and there was no escape. They didn't understand why they couldn't reach you, why their schemes no longer worked. But you knew. You had risen above their chaos, beyond their tricks. You were protected, shielded, untouchable, and they could do nothing to change that. Now, they are the ones being watched, their every move scrutinized. The tables have turned, and they are trapped in a game they can never win. Their own actions have become their prison, and all you have to do is watch as justice unfolds. They had always believed the world revolved around their whims, that their cunning could bend reality to their will. But the universe has its own rules, unyielding and just. Every lie they told, every plot they hatched, became a thread in the web that now ensnared them. Their downfall wasn't orchestrated by you, it was written in the laws of balance they dared to defy. They wanted to hold the strings, to dictate your life like a marionette in their play. But now, their own actions have become the chains that bind them. Their attempts to control you have only unraveled their own narrative. You didn't need to seek revenge because the truth was enough. They had built their own prison, and now they were locked inside. This was the justice they could never anticipate, quiet, relentless, and absolute. The more they fought against it, the tighter the grip became. You stood firm, untouched, as the universe unfolded its plan. Balance was restored, and they were left to face the wreckage they had created. This was only the beginning of their reckoning.